And so it's so extraordinary how beautiful we are. So extraordinary how profound we are, what light, what love we are, and how we are always shining. And how we can imagine that we are anything less than whole. That this unfolding is about remembering the wholeness that we are. Remembering the wholeness. Remembering that we hold the fine frequency of truth, of whole, perfect love inside the presence of being, inside the aware presence is the remembrance of the fine frequency that we are in truth. And once we know this, once we remember this, of course we deepen and clarify and refine into this remembrance so that the frequency that we are living at is pure resonance, clear, transparent truth, aliveness, openness. And we live in this fine frequency, which allows us to, in a way, know the light that we are and bring the light to the surface of life, bring the light into every single little area, every single little hidden corner where we have ever felt diminished and lacking, so that we can bring the light in, the love in. We can reveal, illuminate, use the power of love, use the power of the light that we are to illuminate anything that feels less than, so that we can truly shine as the glory that we are. So in a way, we start with the celebration. We start here now. We start in the remembrance of being. Simply here now in the presence, in the silence. Be open to this incredible remembrance. We remember that there's nothing for us in the play of the world, in truth. That everything that we are longing for is in the presence of being, is in the silence. That in the play of life, the whole appearance of life is just a reflection. And the reflection is, we could say it's a dance of consciousness. And it's a reflection of the frequency of consciousness that we are living at. So it's either reflecting to us the glory of reality, it's either reflecting to us the extraordinary beauty and love that we are, or if we have some filters and veils in place, it's reflecting to us the places that are not quite yet a match for that fine frequency that we already are. It's not that we're not that, but the reflection will show us, where are we holding? Where are the patterns of discordance that are creating the appearance of discordance in the life? In a way, what is difficult, what feels hard, the places that we don't feel free. These places in life offer the possibility, the opportunity, we could say, to illuminate. But of course, in order to illuminate, we need to be in the remembrance of the light that we are. But the great, glorious good news is the light is here. You are the light. And it's just about reconnecting and remembering. And this reconnection and remembrance happens in the source, at the source of all, in the presence of being, in the fine feelings, the fine frequency of being. So it always starts here now. It also ends here now. The start here now is to enter the timeless, to enter now and remember, to remember the openness, the wide open, spacious awareness that just is. And we enter the now, you see, what ends is the belief in separation, the belief in being divided from the whole. When we enter the presence of now, here now, in the stillness, in the silence, the simple presence of the aware being, we enter the timeless, the eternal, the frequency of remembrance. And there's nothing else to do but just be here. Just allow the spark of remembrance to glimmer and shimmer and shine. And it's just the focus upon this fine frequency, this resonant silence, the focus upon being here now is what, in a way, grows the stillness, grows the silence. But of course, it's not really growing it because it's already all-encompassing. What's growing is the connection, the remembrance, the connection to source, and the remembrance of this fine frequency of being. And this is where the light is. This is where the remembrance of the love that we are is, in the openness, in the stillness, in the silence. Can start with a sense of peace, a deep peace, just to come to the stop, to stop and just be here. Be dazzled by your own presence. Stop, just be here. It's like meeting your own gaze, the gaze of the true one that you are, in the stillness, in the silence. Just to notice this presence. There's only one presence. It doesn't belong to anyone, and yet it belongs to everyone. Just the one presence, that we share this presence. And as we drop into the stillness, into the silence of presence, we drop into the presence of just being, just simply being. And as we drop into this presence of being, there's just this, just this. We enter the atmosphere of deep, silent peace. And we enter the atmosphere of alive flow. We enter the atmosphere of the divine, of the consciousness that is pure and flowing in the knowing of itself, right here in the presence of being. We enter the still, silent heart. Still, silent heart that is at peace. A still, silent heart that is ever open, ever present, infinite, unbounded. We enter the peace that is never, ever disturbed, has never been disturbed. The peace that we have always been underneath the play of the world. Just this peace. And in the recognition as the being remembers itself, in a way we open to this finer frequency of being, the sense of being, the felt sense, the feeling sense is like a resonance. It's almost like a silent sound, a pulse, a hum, a buzz, but it's completely silent. It's a resonant frequency. And as we drop in here, we drop into the wide open field, the wide open field of being. And it's this field that we share. What we have believed ourselves to be are points in the field. But as we drop out of the point and into the field, we realize that we are equally present as presence in all points. Yes, we know the point value that we have believed ourselves to be in separation. We know this point more intimately, seemingly, than other points, but every point is animated by the same presence. And the glory of the true nature is that what we are is this presence. That we're not limited to being just the person, that we're the alive presence. And as we enter the deep silent peace of being, the wide open heart of being, where there's a knowing, where there's a feeling sense of remembrance, this knowing is flowing within itself. It's flowing in the knowing of itself. And this flow is the flow of life. It's the flow of consciousness. It's the flow of creation. It's a flow of intelligence, flow of creativity, a flow of wild inspiration, where anything is possible. This wide open field where anything is possible. And yet at the same time, we enter here, this wide open unified field, and we don't really want anything but to be resting in the glory of this fine frequency. And yet anything is possible here. This is where the laws of nature, our unique laws of nature, can find their balance and alignment. And then the balanced, harmonious laws of nature that are aligned can start to flower and bring forward a more profound, true expression of our uniqueness. It's like we can strive on the surface of life to give meaning to my life, to be what I think I should be, pushing and fighting and striving. But when we really just open to this presence of being, it's like we open into this wide open field where our laws of nature suddenly can harmonize and balance. And we start to flower in our uniqueness effortlessly. There's nothing else that could be possible. We just start to flower, and we're using the laws of nature that we have naturally. And there's no doing involved. There's no striving or efforting. It's just that when we're aligned and attuned to this finer frequency, then the reflection of life is a reflection of the resonant frequency that we're living at, that we know ourselves to be. So the depth of purity of the consciousness, where the consciousness knows itself, it flows within itself in the knowing, and it flows to create from the wisdom light, from the intelligence. It creates what it needs to know itself more fully. So it creates the appearance of life and happenings in order to know itself to the fullest capacity that it can, to experience itself in every configuration, to open to itself, so that consciousness can know itself in the light of pure awareness, so that the discordant patterns of consciousness can purify, refine, and release the discordance, transmute the old stresses and conditionings and patterns and habits, can refine all of that, drop it out. Drop the patterning, the discordant patterning out, so that what remains is just the essence, the pure consciousness flowing in itself, in the knowing of itself. In a way, this unfolding is such an extraordinary adventure. And it's an adventure with no ending, no goal. It's an adventure into yourself, into the light that you are, into the love that you are, into the fine frequencies of divinity that you are. And the more that we open to the light and remembrance, the more that we open the deep well of the unconscious, right? So the more light that we open to, the deeper we can go into clearing the residues of our protections and conditionings, our holding patterns and negative narratives that hold us in the belief in separation. So the adventure is so much more than we could ever imagine. We tend to imagine that we're opening to the light. Yes, please, I'll have a lot more of that. I'll have an extra scooping load of that every day, opening to the light, remembering the love that I am, coming to flow as the bliss of being. Yes, please. Yes, please to that. Oh. So what comes with that is, that's the fine print, right? What comes with that is that I also get to explore the absolute caverns of the unconscious. Oh, I didn't sign up for that. No one told me that when I went to the retreat and I opened to the bliss of being. No one told me that I would also be faced with every single element of my being that's been pushed down and hidden away at some point in this unfolding. But that's the adventure, right? That's what makes it so wonderful, so extraordinary. But that is also what happens, is that we imagine that something wrong is happening, that somehow we've gone astray, because as we open, so too do these places arise that have been hidden away. The old stresses come to the surface because they are being illuminated in the brightness of your being, right? Nothing wrong is happening. Nothing wrong is happening. The unfolding is so incredibly rich, and it entails opening to the presence of being and opening to the finer and finer frequencies of light, of the remembrance of the divine, of the perfect, spotless love that we are. And as the heart opens and the protections fall away, what happens is that we start to feel everything, right? So we feel the glory. We have the sensitivity for our feeling sense to be able to recognize in the subtle body the frequency of being and the fineness. But we also have the sensitivity to recognize the discordant patterns and to feel more fully the things that might have been pushed down, usually in the younger life, and then usually consistently through the life. We found a way to numb and avoid. We've lived in strategies, we've lived in conditionings and protections. And as we truly open to this glory, it's like we're not opening to something that we're not. We're opening to the fullness of what we are. We're opening to the absolute fullness. And to open to the fullness is to not hide from any part of what we are. That we're opening, not to a story, not to a past, not to an imagined future. We're opening to the absolute fullness of what we are. We're opening to the glory, the light, the love, the purity, the beauty. And we're opening to, in this frequency, to remember, in truth, there's only love, there's only God, there's only the glory. And as we open to this, it's like we're also being asked to not deny a single part of what we are. That as we open, we come to a freedom, a sense of freedom. In truth, this freedom is a freedom from the mind. So we can tend to feel this freedom to start with as the expanded, unbounded, infinite sense of being, the pure field, the wide open field. We feel the unboundedness. We feel the freedom that we are. As we deepen and refine, in order to be free from the mind, of course, we're going to be given every opportunity to meet the patternings of the mind that keep us in the belief in separation. So we cannot be free in the being, in the absolute, and then be in self-criticism and self-judgment and resistance and stress in the life. It's like to really come to the full wholeness of what we are. It's about meeting everything that we are, all that we are, and truly opening to it all. To start with, we open to the glory of the presence of being. Right here in the stillness, in the silence. We open to the field. It's a unified field where we share this one presence of being. We share this one being. The being is never divided. The being is whole. And so in the stop and just being here, stop. It's like a dropping into the stillness, dropping into the silence. There's nowhere to get to, nothing to get. It's the dropping. The dropping is like dropping out of the mind, dropping out of the doing, dropping out of the desire mechanism and just dropping right into the heart, dropping into the presence of being. And this being is an aware being. So we could say that if we drop into awareness, we drop into the awareness that is aware of everything that is moving and changing. Just to come to awareness is to come to a sense of freedom. So aware of the thoughts that are moving and changing, aware of the body that is moving and changing in its feelings and sensations and tensions. We drop into this awareness and recognize that the awareness is aware of the moving, changing, and yet awareness is also aware of itself, aware of just being aware that there is a sense of watching, and yet this sense of watching, observing as awareness is so natural. We could say in truth we are this awareness. It's so natural that we overlook it. We identify with the mind and the thinking, and we overlook the awareness that is just aware. As we come to the awareness, we discover this aware presence of being, the stillness, the silence. There's just this pristine field, wide open field. So the deeper that we come to this remembrance of being, the field, the freedom that is here, the peace, the openness that is here, we open to the silent sanctuary. And in opening here to the silent sanctuary, we can feel the sense of being, just being. And now the sense of being, it is the being itself that knows itself. Just to notice that it's not the mind, because the aware being is aware of the mind, so is free of the mind. The aware being is aware of the body, and so is free of the body. Just opening to the openness, opening to the openness is opening to where the being knows itself. It's like opening to subtle perception, the feeling sense. And this feeling sense is the resonance that we speak of, the fine frequency that we speak of. And of course, the knowing of this gets more and more subtle and refined as the nervous system refines and refines to be able to detect and subtly perceive what we have generally learnt to overlook. As we come to the being, we just get more and more refined in the nervous system and the ability to recognize in our subtle perception, in consciousness itself, in our nervous system, right? This is the great, glorious, wondrous thing, is that what we are in truth is just a frequency. I mean, we say just a frequency, but just a frequency is divinity, right? So what we are is a frequency. The nervous system is like the access. The nervous system that we think of as my nervous system, as the person's nervous system, is actually consciousness. It's your link to consciousness. It's the link to the light. Where we feel and recognize the being is in consciousness. It's not in the mind. It's in consciousness itself. It's this frequency, this resonance, this vibration that we speak of. So the nervous system is consciousness. And the consciousness knowing itself, the knowing of itself, is pure consciousness. And the pure consciousness is this frequency, is this resonance. And this is in truth what we are. And what this is all about, this unfolding, is about finding that frequency within our own functioning, remembering the frequency, and then fine-tuning, attuning, and then fine-tuning to this frequency where we come to realize, oh, what I am is the frequency. What I am, I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I'm not that whole story. I'm the frequency. And as the frequency, the finer that I'm resonating at, the appearance of life, the life changes. I'm the creator. Yahoo! I'm the creator of this crazy movie, right? So as we come to the presence of being and we come to remember the true self, the true being that we are, it's like we're pulling power back. We're pulling the power back where we're not seeking in the external. We're not seeking, imagining that the world can give us this freedom. We're pulling the power back to realize the only way that we come to this freedom is by remembering the true power, the frequency, the resonance of what we are, that we return to this autonomous remembrance of the heart, the one self, the one being, the one consciousness. And that as we open to this remembrance within our inner functioning is the field of consciousness that we access via the presence and the felt sense of being. We open to the incredible intelligence of what we are. We open beyond what the mind could ever imagine or learn. We open to a field of intelligence that is the wisdom light. And we open to realize that we are this intelligence. And as this intelligence, we have the capacity to open to the whole mechanistic functioning of consciousness. We have access to the whole field of wisdom. Not through the mind, not through the mental, not through learning, but through opening to realize and remember the truth of who we are, and to really resonate at this fine frequency of being, and then purify and refine, and to realize that the whole of life is this incredible flow of grace. It's not happening to the me. No one is a victim to this life. What is happening is a flow of grace that is offering us this reflected image that shows us the reflection of the beauty and wonder and awe, joy, gorgeousness that we are. And it also shows us the places that we have the possibility to refine and purify, that we have the possibility to release discordant patterns. So you see, the whole play of life is the most extraordinary grace. This field that we open to is a field of grace. The play of the life is this whole flow of grace. It is grace that looks like grace, and it's grace that is concealed and doesn't look like grace. And yet it is all one grace. And as we ripen and mature in this remembrance, we realize There's nothing out of place here. Nothing is out of place. And the way that we refine and purify is through a natural open acceptance and through the recognition of the grace. The recognition of the grace is about including everything. So then having awareness of where we divide, where we resist, where we push away. So right here in this moment even, just as the wide open field of grace, as the wide open aware field, feel the frequency of being, the stillness, the silence, the openness. Recognize this wide open field. Maybe you feel the freedom. Maybe you feel the peace, the openness. Maybe you can really feel the resonant aliveness of the silence and the flow of the knowing. It doesn't matter how this is known. It's just to be where you are and just to receive the grace. As you really start to feel the sense of being, notice that the being, it doesn't have any edges, it's boundless. We could say the sense of this presence, it's boundless. So we really open to this field of consciousness, this atmosphere of divine presence. The atmosphere of divine presence is an ever-refining frequency in our experience, because we're clearing and purifying and having more and more access to this light. Now, the light is not a light of the world. It's a light, a lightness. It's a dazzling brilliance where the heart just feels luminosity. Sometimes this luminosity, this light can be felt in and around the head, around the eyes, behind the eyes. Sometimes it can be felt more in the heart, as light in the heart. Sometimes it can be felt all over, or it just feels very wide and boundless. So we open to the boundless, to the light, to the beauty. We open to the field. This field is a field of infinite possibility. The wider we are open, let's say consciousness has a greater field of picking for choosing the situations that the wisdom will create on the surface of life. So the whole play of creation is happening in consciousness. So we're recognizing the openness, the wide openness, the fine frequency of being, the still, silent presence. And now in this wide open field, just to notice, does it feel like there's anything missing in this field? Do you have a sense of anything lacking? Are you aware of any discordance in the field? Are you aware of any situations that you're feeling stirred by at the moment, or if there's any stress or conflict? And as the light, it's just to illuminate anything that pops up. Now, the glory of the intelligence is that you don't have to go to the mind to look for things. Just rest here in the wide open field of consciousness and just see what pops up, right? As the invitations come. Is there any sense of lack, any sense of feeling diminished, or that there's something missing? If you notice discordance in the field, just to illuminate it, and in a way to recognize this too is grace. In a way, it's to like bless it. You're welcome. You're welcome here. I recognize this is grace. Nothing needs to happen. Let light just illuminate it. Let love just be so present. And the same if you notice anything that is feeling like discordant within the life. Images will come. You don't have to look for it with the mind. Or if there's anything that just feels difficult, anything that feels confusing, anything that feels like, I don't know which way to turn. I don't know how to deal with this, right? All of it is grace. And in a way, as we illuminate it, what happens is we include everything in the field. We find in the field, where are we dividing? Where are you separating? Where are you putting a me here and that one over there? Illuminate it. See the grace of it. And this blessing is like welcoming, saying, yes, you are welcome. There's no resistance. The light sees these places, these companions, these situations. Everything is seen equally in the light. The light just sees, awareness just sees and shines upon any situation. So there's nothing that we need to push away, nothing that we need to resist. The way to come to a deeper sense of yourself, a deeper sense of being, is through this including of everything. Because as we include everything, it's like we open up the moment. Everything is welcome. The moment is open. The moment is presence. There's no division in this moment. And a moment that is undivided is a moment of extraordinary freedom, because there's no defense. There's no protection. So the incredible power of recognizing the grace of everything and including everything through welcoming, through blessing, through recognizing that where the oneness is underneath the story, underneath the patterns. We are one. We are one in love. We are one in the heart. We are one in the light. Anything that pops up, illuminate it, see it. You are welcome here. It allows the moment to be a moment of freedom. It allows the moment to be full. It allows there to be a settling out of the mind and into the heart, and deeper into the presence of being, deeper into the pure, wide open field of consciousness that you are. The stillness, the still presence, the silence, the openness of just being, just being, just resting here. And if anything feels like it's coming in as a distraction, don't try to change anything. Don't try to create a spiritual mood. It's to include everything. To include everything is to deepen into the freedom of being. If you are aware of a thought, it's okay. You can be here. You just don't engage and identify with it. You just stay aware of it. aware of the thought, aware of the feelings in the body, aware of any discordance in the field, aware of that conversation in the mind with someone else, imagining that you're discussing something or you're trying to get your point across, trying to be heard or seen or understood. Instead of just identifying with that, just dropping right back, just being aware. And awareness silently says, I see you and I love you. I see you and I love you. Awareness says, I see you and you are welcome. Awareness says, I see you in the light and all I see is one. I see you in the light and all I see is one. So if anything is trying to distract, it's just to allow. It's in the allowing and the not resisting and the not reacting that we deepen. And of course, if what we are aware of is resistance, then great glory, we welcome that resistance, right? We bless that resistance. Thank you. Thank you for showing up. What a great opportunity. Because now that I can see you in the light, you can come to the surface. And as you come to the surface, you will free yourself, right? Everything that gets to come into the light and as it is included in the unconditional welcoming, within your functioning enters the unified field of remembrance. And to enter the unified field of remembrance is like entering the remembrance of the one heart. It's like you're reorganizing your heart. So it's of course not a personal heart, although it can feel very much like a personal heart, but you're reorganizing your heart so that it's not divided into what is safe, what is not safe, what is a threat, what I need to keep a distance from. It's like within the reorganization of your heart, there's an openness. And you know, all you are opening to is yourself. You're not opening to anything that is actually threatening in truth. You're opening to your own feelings. You're entering your own heart. And the reorganization is finding all the places inside the heart that are in resistance. All of the places that want to push away. All of the places that want to stay in some kind of conflict or upset. Hold a dynamic of hurt or not allowing a resolve to happen. Everything resolves in the heart. Everything resolves in the heart. We have the capacity for complete resolution of the whole life in the heart, because the life has been created out of the frequency we've been living at. So as we open to the presence of being and to the frequency of being, the fine frequency, we have this capacity to resolve everything in the light, in the presence of love. The presence of love is the openness that welcomes everything, right? So, just resting here in the stillness, in the silence, just dropping into the felt sense of the presence of being, just dropping into everything that we are speaking about. Of course, in the sharing, it's all about the resonance. It's not really about the words. It's not really giving instruction. It's all about attuning to this moment. It's not about getting it right or getting it wrong. It's not about not getting it or getting it. It's not about anything happening. The speaking is your heart speaking to yourself. And so you receive it wherever you receive it. And now most often it will bring a resonance of attunement and remembrance. You'll open to the frequency. It's like attuning to the frequency, aligning and coming into an enlivened sense of the frequency. Sometimes the frequency of the sharing will bring a stirring. It will bring a stirring in order to surface something that is ready to surface. And that might feel like a bit of a resistance or a bit of a trigger. The thing is that it's all grace. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the mind thinks. What is happening here is the flow of glorious perfection. That's what grace is. Grace is perfection. Whether it looks like grace, whether it doesn't look like grace, it's all grace, and grace is a flow of perfection. Life knows how to live itself. It's living itself perfectly. There's an intelligence, a wisdom to the way that life lives itself. So what is so important is that life is never wrong. And we are life. And we are never wrong, right? We're so embroiled in this idea that there's something wrong with me. This is the human condition. This is the play of separation. There's something wrong with me. I've done something wrong. Or somebody has done something wrong to me. And as long as we are holding this frequency of wrong, then we keep resonating at the frequency. In a way, that frequency, we could say in simple terms, is like the frequency of fear. The frequency of there's something wrong here. There's something wrong with my life. There's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with what is happening. It's just to notice how often we fall into the idea that there's something wrong, something lacking, something missing. And it's really just to illuminate that, because illuminating that, in a way, it invites a little child that misunderstood and believed that they did something wrong. It invites that little child into the light that says, there is nothing wrong with you, and you know that. In your deepest heart, you know that. It's not about positive affirmations or trying to change beliefs. It's about switching the perspective of seeing. And switching the perspective of seeing is coming to resonate at the frequency of love, at the frequency of being, the frequency of openness, so that the creative intelligence can create life from here, from openness. So you see, every place that feels like it has discordance or lack, or there's the idea of wrong happening or lack, it's this great opportunity to notice, okay, here is a frequency of fear. Here's a frequency of conditioning, of discordance. It's seen in the light of awareness. It's illuminated. And now the presence meets it, blesses it. The blessing is the presence that says, you are welcome here. And it's like this blessing, it shifts the frequency. You are welcome here. You are included. It's changing the whole idea of push away, push away, push away. Fix it, change it. Don't want it, right? It's changing that whole frequency, because that frequency just keeps perpetuating itself. And it's about shifting the frequency, and we shift the frequency through the recognition of the grace and the blessing, seeing the blessing that's coming, the openness, the allowing, the inclusion, the all-encompassing inclusion of everything. We could say we give everything to the glory. We give everything to the divine. We hand it over. We let go of the idea of believing that we can fix and change. And we come to realize, oh, there's nothing wrong. The whole idea that there's something wrong is the hook of separation that keeps the sense of separation in place. When we really realize there's nothing wrong, there's nothing right, there's nothing wrong, we leave the realm of time and space, cause and effect, and karma, and we remember the timeless, boundless field. We remember the wide open field that is before right and wrong, good and bad, before me and other. We remember this wide open field of grace that is absolute equanimity. So just resting here, notice what is being noticed. Can you recognize the felt sense of being, the deep presence? Recognize that the presence of being is always here, never goes anywhere. It's always here, undisturbed. Play of life plays on, and the presence of being just is. Never disturbed, never diminished, never tainted in any way. And this is the way that it's been, always. It's the way it has always been. You have always been the perfect whole. You have always been the glorious light. You have always been divine. You have always been perfect, spotless love. And here in the presence, we open to the fine frequencies where this knowing resides. That the knowing resides within our innermost being. So in the stillness, in the silence, in the stillness, in the silence, in the presence, we open to the field, the atmosphere of divine presence. We open to the sense of openness and freedom, total allowing and acceptance, where there's no judgment or opinion. There's just this wide open field that's totally allowing and welcoming. And the deeper that we rest here, the capacity to illuminate and truly heal the patterns of discordance, truly heal the play of the life, so that we can really live this reality. We can really live this fine frequency. So there is a field of being, a field of light. And as we open here to the light, it's just to notice what is here to be noticed. Let the attention focus upon the being, the light, the presence, whether it feels like deep, silent peace, whether it feels like the alive flow of the knowing. Whatever is here that feels like truth, just resting here. There is light here. Presence of being is the presence of light. The light is everywhere. The light enters the sense of the body. It doesn't enter in the ways that we might imagine. It enters through the enlivened frequency of consciousness. It enters the nervous system as the frequency of fear drops away and the frequency of love is enlivened. It enters the nervous system and the resonance starts to feel finer and more alive, more enlivened. That what you are made of is light. You are made of light. You are made of consciousness. So as the frequency of the consciousness refines, and as there is an openness here, the light frequency starts to be felt. The feeling sense starts to feel more alive. And the aliveness of the light is the aliveness of the bliss flowing. The nervous system is flooded with a flow of nectarine bliss. And as the nervous system is flooded with a flow of nectarine bliss, it starts to bring that sense of the bhav, that deep atmosphere of divine presence. Just opening to receive. There's nothing to do. It's just to receive. The frequencies are coming. The frequencies are coming into this one open field that we are sharing, that we are one in. And it's just to open to receive the fine frequencies that are coming in to illuminate and soften and clear. As the light frequency gets finer, it's coming directly into any patterns of discordance that are on the surface of life. It's entering into the patterns of discordance and bringing light and clearing. If something pops into your awareness as discordant, then the light will be directed to that. You don't have to do anything. There's a wisdom that is moving everything. And it's just to allow the frequencies of light that are here to just move intelligently. As you can feel the frequency of the being, the silence, the stillness, just to notice that frequency, that resonance, because the resonance itself is the light, the bliss flowing. And it's deeply, deeply nourishing to the nervous system, deeply nourishing to the nervous system. So there's nothing to do. That bliss light is flowing in the nervous system, in the flow of consciousness. It's moving to clear and purify and refine. It's reorganizing, it's recalibrating. It's pure intelligence, and it knows how. It knows how. It's like a flow of divine grace flowing within itself, intelligently knowing how to clear and reorganize, upgrade what is needed, what is ready for an upgrade. So resting here, and just allowing in the presence of being, in the silent, still, aware being, just allowing the flow of grace to flow in all of the ways, just to be open, like the heart saying yes, yes, yes. The heart saying yes is the openness that allows the wisdom light to flow. And just to notice as awareness, just notice what you are noticing. You may notice sensations, feelings, visuals. You may notice feeling the resonance, the frequency more enlivened, or you might not, and it doesn't matter. Nothing is supposed to happen. It's just to be as you are, open, resting, and receiving. Open receptivity, open, receptive frequency of love, pure and naturally allowing. You fall deeper into the naturalness of yourself. You fall deeper into the naturalness of being, just as you are.